Welcome to the year 2021, a year of change and renewal, and where we're still fucking inside. Shit. Not to worry though, because we still have leeson commentaries to look forward to. Isn't that right, leeson? Leeson? Wake your ass up, it ain't bedtime, it's bread time.
Hello? Heyo? Hi everybody, Baba Booey? Baba Booey. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up.
Hey everybody, it's 2021 and we're still inside. We're still dealing with this, damn thing that's probably brought by aliens and turns us into Nagisa Furukawa for like 2 weeks or so. But hey, in the past few months, I've been coping with staying at home by doing these three things. Gaming in 144Hz, working on art and college work, and most importantly, watching stuff. Well, to answer your question, which you probably don't have, I've been watching some anime that I've actually had in my backlog for about 3 or 4 years or so. You see, after I finished Uzaki Season 1, I was pumped to start up some new anime which I hadn't watched or haven't gone into. So I watched Dragon Maid, which was pretty neat actually, but kind of out there from the usual Kyoani standards which I expected from them. Also, I don't see the hype of Lukoa. People only like her for one thing and seem to overlook that she's pretty much harassing a child with her body. I wish I was making that up. If her Flag Breaks OVA, which made me realize how garbage this anime actually was. Seriously, why did I like this? This anime is literally a clusterfuck. Every genre and every idea this anime has to present just does not work, and it all just feels stupid. Dr. Stone, which I really enjoyed, it could have done with a bit more development to some characters in my opinion, but I'm not really going to complain to be honest. Senku and his adventure to rebuild the world is great. Chivalry of a Failed Knight, which was surprisingly good for both an ecchi and an action-orientated anime. A diamond in the rough, and something that should be discovered and talked about more often. Although I would recommend not watching it if you don't want your full-blood sister character to be played like a love rival. Again, I wish I was making that up, but no, it's a thing. Usually that sort of stuff would turn me off an anime, but I let it slide for that one time. Hey, a girl named Shizuku, I swear, you're weird. The God of High School anime, and that was handled, poorly. I honestly am astounded how they could fit 14 whole chapters into one episode. It's an example of Tokyo Ghoul adaptation syndrome, which is not a thing I just made up. And I've also recently finished Konosuba Season 1, and I'm watching Gintama Season 2 of Dr. Stone, Wonder Egg Priority, and I also finished Blend S. I could go into more detail about the anime I've watched for the last few months, but I want to highlight one anime in particular that caught me off guard and surprised me with how well it was executed. Ever since late 2019, I've always been on the wave of Watch Clannad, and that still sort of rings true today. However, you know how after you've watched something you consider to be great or better in your eyes? Months pass and then you think to yourself, was this as good as I remember it? And well, since I've rewatched this a few times, it really has held up to be as good as I remember it the first time watching. But what happens when rewatches just aren't enough anymore? What if you wanted to look for a piece of media that actually excelled and surpassed expectations to become your new number one? It's that kind of motivation which led me to watching newer stuff, and out of the anime that I have watched so far, there was one that did surpass expectation. And this is, technically my new number one, so, ladies and gentlemen, and, all the Britannian Empire, I give you Code Geass. Right, I say technically that this is my new number one because Clannad After Story is actually still my favorite anime, with Code Geass R2 being my second favorite. What I mean by Code Geass being at number one for me is taking into account my ratings for both seasons 1 and 2, compared to Clannad Season 1 and After Story. Now, I understand that both of these anime are different from one another. One's a slice of life, another is a mecha action-orientated anime. Pretty much nothing alike. However, I feel like Clannad After Story won me over because of its emotional value, whereas Code Geass was a different sort of ballpark, and I'll definitely get into why that is in a moment. As for how I'm going to structure this video, I was at first going to structure it out like a full-fledged review with chapters and everything, but I don't really think it needs to be like that. So I decided to go for something a bit more simple and a bit more to the point. If you've seen Moist Meter Critical's review series, all he does is basically just give a general overview of either a game he has played or a series he has watched. Makes points about what he likes or dislikes about them and gives them a rating. all pretty short and concise. And I'm pretty much going to do the same sort of thing with Code Geass because I think it seems fitting. It doesn't need to be me gushing about it for like half an hour. It just needs to be me explaining a little bit of what it's about without giving too much spoilers. Saying what I like and don't like about it and give my rating for both seasons at the end. Does that sound good? Yeah? Then alright, let's get into it. So to start with, I'll preface that I've never really looked at any other mecha-related anime series besides Gurren Lagann and maybe a tiny bit of Darling in the Franxx. And I'll also preface that this was technically not my first rodeo with Code Geass. I actually watched the first episode of Code Geass back in 2017, I believe, with my good friend Archer who recommended it to me, and to be honest, I didn't really know how to feel about it since I only watched that one episode. Back then, I was terrible with watching stuff. I just decided to finish stuff randomly. I literally just picked and chose anime I wanted to watch and ones that I didn't want to watch. Either way, I decided to give it another go in October of last year, just after I finished Uzaki Season 1, and what's the verdict here? Well, I mean, I have said before that this is technically my new number 1, well, more so R2, but it's fucking amazing. So, what's Code Geass about? Well, essentially the Empire of Britannia is conquering the world, and 7 years before present day, they decided to conquer Japan. With Japan's defenses being no match for the Britannian Empire and their nightmare mechs, the Empire conquers Japan and claims it for themselves. A Britannian prince known as Lelouch and his sister Nunnally are exiled from the Empire and are now posed to live their lives out 7 years from then at Ashford Academy. From the events that happened then, along with others throughout his young life, Lelouch found himself despising the actions of the Britannian Empire and the Emperor, his dad, Charles Z. Britannia. All this hate culminated with the actions of a resistance taking control of a truck with a secret Britannian project. All leads to Lelouch forming a contract with newly introduced character, Cece, and with that he obtains a new power known as Geass, which in Lelouch's case allows him to essentially control anyone he wants if they make eye contact with him. The only caveat here being that he can only do this with a particular person only once. A con about a power is actually a strength in my opinion. It doesn't make it too overpowered. All of this comes together to give Lelouch the realization that he now owns the power to essentially take over the Britannian Empire if he so chooses to. And choose to, he does. He becomes the mask-wielding Zero. No, not that Zero. And a new leader of a resistance now known as the Black Knight. And essentially they both have things to fight for. Lelouch wants a safer place for Nunnally and wants to take over Britannia, and the resistance fighters want justice, so why not get together to fight? Works for me. R2, the second season of Code Geass, further builds upon what Season 1 laid out for us. After some things happen at the end of Season 1, not spoiling, Lelouch got amnesia, but gets his memory back and regains the power of his Geass once again. And with that, it would be time for Round 2, and it's basically a similar sort of deal as Season 1. That's basically what both seasons boiled down to, and you know, you may think that, well, whatever, this is just some mecha anime. How can either of these seasons be considered at least a 9, let alone a 10? Yeah, I'll tell you how. The series itself is super over the top about stuff. Whether it be with the characters, settings, score, dialogue, the action itself, it's undisputed to me that at this point, that everything about Code Geass just strikes to me as being over the top, and I for one am really a fan of that. It's exciting, and for the 50 episodes that there are of the series, not a single one left me feeling bored. Even that cat episode from Season 1 was exciting. Not even kidding. The series itself was so exciting that I actually binged the last 16 episodes in one day, for God's sake, and I never do that with any other series. Along with it being over the top, the series itself is super powerful in its characters and their desires. The desires of each character pretty much are the same, but for different reasons. Some of them will clash with each other, and that's what the impact of the battles really mean. They pretty much fight for the same thing, but the opposing sides have different standpoints on the matter, so that's why they fight each other. Tying into this, the series itself is heavily reliant on its political standpoints with Britannia and the 11s. And to be honest, throughout the series, it's most likely leading into the later episodes of R2, you start to second guess who is actually in the right here. Are the Britannians actually the good guys, or are the resistance just that? a resistance resisting against what is morally right and acceptable in society. Along with the deep, complex, rich plot, Code Geass itself just looks stunning. It's bright, colorful, and it's full of life, even in its moody parts. Sunrise did a really good job on producing it, even if some of the character designs make the characters look scrawny and lanky as fuck. Built like Enderman for real. But to be honest, I'm not really one to judge about character designs or art styles or anything. I've watched Clannad and enjoyed it. I've watched Uzaki and didn't have a problem with the design. I mean, at the very least, if the character designs don't look like shit, I'm happy. And to be honest with you, Code Geass's character designs are actually pretty neat. Pretty angular sort of new wave animation at the time, what can I say? For this new animation style brought around 2006 when Code Geass Season 1 was made, the characters look pretty good. No real complaints here. With all that said, Code Geass to me is very powerful, very over the top, very exciting, deep, rich, and beautiful, all combined into one. Season 1 is a 9 out of 10 to me for all of those reasons. But I feel like the only thing that really brought Season 1 down for me would be a few pacing issues that I lightly picked up on, but it didn't really bother me so much since the series itself was really good, hence the 9. R2, however, received the big fat 10. For all of those reasons, plus a whole lot more. R2 to me felt like Season 1, but with impact and emotional factor at full throttle. Season 1, but amplified, if you will. The plot had a lot more intricacy, the visuals are good, the score is amazing as always, but the final deciding factor was the ending of R2. Where Season 1 left us on a strong cliffhanger, R2 gave us a satisfying ending which had a much more powerful impact than ever before. A very strong conclusion to an outstanding series which I personally now adore. I had no problems with this season whatsoever. However, like with most 10 out of 10 series, subjectivity would like to chime in. I consider Code Geass to be one of those polarizing series where some people love the series to death like me, and some people despise it with a burning passion. Kinda like Clannad in a sense. Or better example, Evangelion. I've actually also heard from people that rewatching the series actually makes you point out a lot of flaws with the series you didn't pick up on at first, which could decrease the rating. Looks a trash taste. But since it was my first watch, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt and won't consider it based off of that alone. I'm not saying I don't believe it, but I can't really take their word for it if I haven't done a rewatch and been the judge of that. However, as for right now, Code Geass R2 is my second favorite anime of all time. But collectively, considering the rating of Season 1, it is my favorite series of all time. 95 out of 100, baby. Suck on that, Clannad. I'm just kidding. I still love you, you silly little tier bait series, you. Anyways, with that, yeah, that's essentially all there is to say about Code Geass. To be honest, it wasn't really much of a review. More so a way of expressing how I feel about this series, and like I said, that's basically what Critical's Moist Meter is like. He just expresses how he feels about a series he's watched or a game he's played. And that actually felt right to do with Code Geass since, like Clannad, it's more of an experience sort of anime. Just like you experienced Tomoya's life and hardships in Clannad, you experience firsthand Lelouch's descent into madness, as he is spoiled by the power he has obtained and you are essentially with him the entire duration as it happens. You get to witness everything he does and experience it for yourself. His struggles, his feelings, everything. To me, when you feel like you have to express how you feel about a series, that's how you know when a series is good, or when a series is downright appalling. But in this case, it's the former. So, yeah, go watch it. Code Geass and Code Geass R2. They've been out for years. If you're up for 50 episodes, binge it. But anyways, I think that'll have to do from me. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe to me, and hit the bell to see more content. Most of you who watch haven't subscribed, so please make sure you do that. And well, yeah. See ya.